So I carry out my research at the Large Hadron Collider near Geneva in Switzerland, where we basically have a 27-kilometer accelerator where we accelerate protons to near the speed of light, and we can use that to basically create head-on collisions, and that allows us to study the universe just a fraction of a second after the Big Bang. So the LHC is basically a collider, so 40 million times a second is basically that bunches of protons meet other bunches of protons. So the amount of data that actually gets accumulated is huge. So here's basically an image of where we are at CERN here in Geneva, and then around the world there are 10 computing centers called Tier 1 centers, and there's this one link here that goes to Vancouver here with our Tier 1 center here at Triumph, where we basically receive reconstructed data straight from the LHC. Since the LHC will restart with a higher intensity and higher energy, we actually have to make sure that the experiment can cope with the amount of data that gets processed. So here in Canada and in Triumph, we're basically involved in upgrading a set of trigger chambers. Basically, those are chambers that help decide online which events to keep and which ones to discard. And for that, we basically have to replace a wheel. It's called a small wheel, but it's nevertheless 9 meters in diameter. So this is basically this wheel, and in Canada we're going to build sectors that are indicated in these two colors. Those are thin gap chambers, gaseous detectors that are both really fast. Within 25 nanoseconds you basically see the signal, and also very precise. Basically it can point to the interaction point with 1 millirad resolution. So we're basically building these detectors to enable Atlas to continue taking data at an efficient rate. One question we are in particular interested in, and that's how the accelerator was built for, is to study what is the origin of mass. Basically, how do fundamental particles actually acquire mass? And in the 60s, a theory has been developed that basically explains this acquiring of mass of fundamental particles through a field, which was then called the Higgs field. And fast forward to the present, in 2012, basically, the Atlas experiment, where I'm a member of, and the CMS experiment, found a new particle that basically can be seen as an excitation of this field called the Higgs particle. And here you basically see the state of affairs. And the x-axis here, it's called signal strength. 0 basically means there is no Higgs particle. 1 is basically the expected signal strength, and 0 is no Higgs signal. And you can see most of these measurements within the uncertainty bars agree very well with this expectation within the standard model. So that's why we basically say the discovery up until now is consistent with the standard model Higgs boson. The quest, however, is not over. There's many questions to be answered. For example, we don't know what dark matter is. We don't know the hierarchy of forces. Gravity is so much weaker than the other fundamental forces. So all of these questions we hope to be able to answer in the coming runs of the LHC. Basically, you want to discover either new particles, supersymmetric particles, or extra dimensions of space-time, or possibly additional Higgs bosons. So this is basically what the new run has to answer for us.